Hello and welcome to Freshest Note channel. Today we are going to discuss the most important topic in English because it is very commonly seen that the use of verbs in English is not rightly used with many people. So by learning these tenses, you come to know that how to use them, and it would be of more useful in your exams as well when you're going to attempt the verb forms. So let us come to know that what are these tenses and how are they used and what are the verb forms of that and how is that easy to identify them with the help of certain adverbs called signal words. Now let us see that. Now, a tense indicates, it denotes the time in the form of a verb. It might be in the form of a helping verb as well. Now let us see that it is basically divided into three. That is, a present, past and future. And each of these tenses are divided into four aspects. One is simple present, present progressive, present perfect and present perfect progressive. Simple past, past progressive, past perfect and past perfect progressive. Future, future progressive, future perfect and future perfect progressive. Now let us come to understand each of them, how they are used. Now let's see the first one, that is simple present. Here, basically, very importantly, we should have a check on the subject. And accordingly, we'll look into the use of the verb in case of simple present tense. Because we will be asked to add s or es according to the spelling of the verb in case the subject is the third person singular number like he, she or it. Now you can look at this. Here, I ride bike or I ride the bike. When it is said, here you can see the verb ride is not added with the s because the subject is first person. Now let's see the next sentence there. He listens to music. In that you can see the verb, we added s. That is listen and we added s to that. So here is what we need to have a check with. And for an easy identification of that simple present tense, we have certain adverbs, otherwise called the verbs that signal you that they are under present tense. That like, using always, sometimes, every day, daily, often, frequently, seldom, rarely, regularly. So likewise we can see that. We can easily identify it. And we know how the tense, present tense is used. It is to refer universal facts, universal truths, general truths, routine actions or habitual actions. So this is a way where we can use simple present tense. Now let's see that present progressive tense. That it's very clear by the title. Present progressive, that is in process, it's going on at the moment, at the time of speaking. Now I am teaching. So whatever an activity that goes on at that moment and that what you speak about is said to be that present progressive tense, or you call in general present continuous tense. And it is where we have to be careful with, the subject which is singular, and we use am, is. And for plural, we take the be form are. So for first person and second person, we should have, and the third person, we should have a check on the subject, and accordingly we use the be form and add ing to the main verb, and we use their present participle. So you can see the example here. I am learning English. Now, you are learning English. It's now, at the moment. Even these words are also said to be signal words. And see the next sentence. She is watching TV. A student is watching me on the screen right now. So that is what we say, that present continuous tense, and we have the signal words like now, at the moment, hey look, hey listen. So where you respond something to that spontaneously that happens, because present continuous tense refers other way. It is a temporary activity. So you say, hey look, the bus is coming. Hey listen, someone is coming in. So this is how where you can use that continuous tense for an activity that you refer spontaneously. Now let's see the next one. Present perfect tense. Perfect sounds it gets completed. So it's present perfect. Now how we speak about it. This tense refers an activity that began at some point of time in the past and shows its completion before another activity begins in the present. That is how where we use this present perfect tense. Now let's see the examples here. They have broken it. She has broken it. So we need to have a care with the use of the helping verbs under this tense, because there are two, that is how and has. How is used for I, we, you, they. And has is used for the subjects like he, she, and it. So that is how where we need to be careful at the time of using the present perfect tense. And even we can use the signal words to easily identify the tense, like already, just now, just before, a little while ago. So this is how where the signal words can be taken while using this present perfect tense. I have just completed teaching simple present tense. So this is how where you can use it. Now let's see that present perfect progressive tense. As I told in the case of present perfect, here also you can understand that an activity started at some point of time in the past, but it doesn't end here. It shows its progress, that is in action. It's in process. It goes on in the present. An activity started at some point of time in the past and goes on. Even I can take this example of the class. I have been teaching for 10 minutes by now. So this is how where you can use it. An activity started somewhere at some point of time in the past and shows its continuity in the present. So this is how where we can use, and most importantly, in the case of use of present perfect and present perfect continuous tense, we should be careful with the use of the prepositions that refer point of time and period of time. The preposition that what we use for point of time is since, and as well for period of time we use for. So if I have to say that I have been teaching since 5 o'clock or since morning. So this is how where we use. So let's see the next one. Past simple. Past simple. Now what does it refer? It refers a mere completion of an activity. Until the speaker refers the time by the sentence, it doesn't speak of any time. So, now for example, I say, I watched a movie and I ended my statement. And it doesn't refer the time. So you have to provide it for a complete information. So in that way, where a past simple tense is used, and we can make out the difference here, that the past simple tense goes with certain signal words as well, like last night or last year or 2 days ago, or you can say like in 1999, any year that you want to refer, even yesterday. So with certain specified time, you should not use present perfect tense. So this is how where we have to make out the difference between a present perfect tense and past simple tense. So we should be careful at the time of using these two tenses. Now let's see the examples here. I bought a pen. Time is not referred. I bought a pen yesterday. You drew my attention. Of course, maybe anywhere. At any event or at any situation. Now let's see that past progressive. Now past progressive, we use the be forms like was and were. So we use was with I, he, she and it. And for the remaining persons we use were and add ing to the main verb. Now, how do we use this past continuous tense? This past continuous tense refers an activity started at a point of time in the past and shows its continuity as well in the past and ends up there. It doesn't come into the present. And how you show this? He was standing there. I say that he was standing in the bus stop. And I was passing by that way, I saw him, but I don't know when his activity of standing there started or ended. But I came out after seeing him and shared with someone. I say that, yes, he was standing in the bus stop. He was standing there. Now let's see that. They were talking. By the time I saw them, they were talking. I'm not sure when the activity started and when it is going to be ended up. So this is how where the past continuous tense is going to refer. It doesn't refer the time there. Now let's see the past perfect tense. Now in case of past perfect tense, we should be careful that there must be two completed activities which were interconnected or interlinked. And that way we can use this past perfect tense to speak the order of activities. That is, if of those two activities, the first activity should be in past perfect tense using had plus past participle, the third form of the verb, and the second activity, the activity that follows it, must be in simple past tense. That is the second form of the verb. Now let's see the example here. I had announced maybe the results or whatever before they came in. Before the students came in, I had announced the results. So announcing the results was done first, so I said I had announced. And the students coming in was a later activity, and so I used came, that is simple past tense. Now let's see the other one. the train had left before we reached the station. It's very clear. So the first one is that the train had to leave the station, and we reaching there is a second activity, and so the main verb reach is a simple past tense, that is using the second form of the verb. Now let's see that past perfect progressive. We just have completed how to use a past continuous tense when there are two simultaneous activities. You can use even while or when in the case of past continuous. Now here it is past perfect continuous, that is past perfect progressive tense. So it is an activity to refer started at some point of time in the past and showed its continuity to a certain point or to an event and ended up there. And that is how where we can use past perfect continuous tense. So for example, it is 5:20 and I want to say that I had been teaching tenses for 15 minutes 5 minutes ago, or I say by 5:15. So if I have to refer the time that started at some point of time and continued and showed up, it's closer at a point. So that is how where we use past perfect progressive. Let's see an example here. They had been asking questions by the time I reached there for 10 minutes. So you can understand here, they had been asking questions for 10 minutes when I reached there. So it is or that an activity showed its completion at a point. Let's see the next example. My teacher had been dictating notes. So we can understand it for 30 minutes when I passed that way. So this is how where the past future progressive tense is used. Now let's see the next one, simple future. And by the title it's clear that an activity to take place in the later course of period or in the later times. Now here we can see an example, and we have the words as will and shall. The words, it's in the Old English that we use I and we, the subjects, with shall, and for the remaining subjects we go with will. But now it has been changed. We can use either way. So, but of course there are restrictions in certain cases that we should be careful with their usage as well. Now see here, future, simple future, that is, I will buy a car. Maybe that next week or a day after or at any time later. I will attend the meeting. So even to emphasize, it is not only that to speak about a future course of activity, but as well to speak how determined you are about certain things. So you can refer in that way. Now let's see that future progressive tense. So at the same time, whenever something that in specific that happens, you refer to. Now for example, I will be teaching another lesson at the same time tomorrow. So this is how where the future progressive tense can be referred to an activity that starts later and continues at that specified time. So you can say here examples. They will be leaving tonight. She will be explaining the details of the topic or whatever. Now let's see the next one, that is future perfect tense. Now how is that going to be used? You should be careful that irrespective of the subject there, in case of the use of future perfect tense, we should use only that the perfect is have, not has, irrespective of the subject. The same manner, we take that future or will, that is simple future perfected. So how do we say that? He will have submitted the work by the time you go there. We will have finished the work before you ask me. So, and here, one important thing that we should understand, as long as the future we use, maybe the simple future, or future progressive, or future perfect, or future perfect progressive, the second clause should all the time be only in simple present tense. No other tense to be used. So this is how where we need to take care. So you might have understood when I took this, he will have submitted the work before you go there. Go, simple present tense. We will have finished the work before you ask. Ask, simple present tense. Now let's see the last of these tenses. That is future perfect progressive tense, which is not commonly in usage, but let us come to understand it, how it is used. It is that to refer an activity that started at some point of time in the past and continues in the present and leads into the future and further continues and ends at a certain point. For example, I say, John will have been working for 25 years by the time he retires in the month of January. Now you understand here. John will have been working for 25 years by the time he retires in the month of January. So we can understand here, the activity started at some point of time in the past there. In the present as well, it shows its work and leads into the future and continues into the further and ends at a point. So let's see the examples here. I will have been playing cricket. He will have been collecting stamps. So this is our future perfect progressive tense. Now, to come to an idea now about all these tenses, how you have understood, let us go through an exercise, and I would like to see that, how well that you could follow all these tenses. Now, here is a test. So you answer these sentences and check or have your personal assessment of your understanding, how well that you're able to follow. Okay. Now let's see that, each of them, how that you could answer and relate with the answers which I'm going to tell you. Now let's see the first one. I blank there, English for 7 years now. You can understand the period of time mentioned here for 7 years now. So it's very clear that it should be in present perfect progressive tense. So I've been learning English. I've been learning English for 7 years now. So the next one, at the moment, and the signal word is very clear at the beginning itself. At the beginning of the sentence, that's its present progressive tense. So we say that at the moment we are revising English grammar, or we are revising the tenses. Now let's see that here next. Blank, you ever, blank there. Since, again a point of time, the reference here. Since with a point here with an event. Since you left school. So it should be as well in present perfect tense. So you is that the subject there. It takes, the verb should be have. So have you ever, the third form of the verb is played. So have you ever played since you left school? Let's see that. My father, blank, his car. In the brackets here provided wash, the verb, and the simultaneous activity at the same time. My mother and I, dinner. In the brackets here provided prepare. Now you can understand here that should be in when the two simultaneous activities there. In process, we use past continuous tense. So my father was washing his car while my mother and I were preparing dinner. Now let's see the next one. He, blank there, a new car last week, a specific period. It's very clear what the last week or 2 days ago or in sometime in the year 2000 or whatever. I told you that it should be in simple past tense. So, he bought a new car last week. Now see that. Here is an interrogative sentence. Again, that here it is yesterday, a specific period. So it is again in a simple past tense. So we should say that, what is a helping verb? The auxiliary we should use there, did. Did you meet? Because whenever we use helping verbs like do, does, did, we should only use the verb form 1, that is, we won. So, no change for the verb and the given in the braces. So, did you meet her yesterday? Now let's see the next one. I think itself speaks that. It's a future progressive tense there. I think that there will be arriving tomorrow morning. So a signal word is there, a phrase of it. Next, every day, it's as well very clear that with a signal word there saying every day or daily, frequently, often there, we can understand it is in simple present tense. So we should say, every day I wake up. No change of the verb there and given in the bracket. Every day I wake up at 6 in the morning. Now let's see the next one. The students, one activity stand up. As soon as the lecturer, the other one is their step. So the two activities there. So what is the first activity? The students had stood up as soon as the lecturer stepped in. So this should be in simple past tense. Now let's see the last one. They scream, and you can understand this phrase here by the time, or before or after. When we use it, it should be in future perfect tense, yeah? And you can understand that you're given simple present tense here. So, that is go. So, what should be that there? They will have screened the film by the time they go. So you might have checked your answers with what I had provided you with. So, I think that you might have well followed what is a very important lesson. And if you have any queries with related to this lesson, please don't forget to mention in the comment box below. And please subscribe to this channel so that I could come up with a number of useful videos for you. Thank you.